Massachusetts, officially named a Commonwealth, is a constituent state of the United States of America. It is one of the original 13 states and is among the 6 New England states, situated in the northeastern corner of the country. Massachusetts is bordered by Vermont and New Hampshire to the north, the Atlantic Ocean to the east and southeast, Rhode Island and Connecticut to the south, and New York to the west. The Massachusetts coastline stretches approximately 1,500 miles, 2,400 kilometers. The state's cross-country distances measure only 190 miles, 310 kilometers, from east to west and 110 miles, 180 kilometers, from north to south. The capital of Massachusetts is Boston. Boston is located on Massachusetts Bay, an arm of the Atlantic Ocean. The city has a relatively small area for a major city, with more than a quarter of its total area consisting of water, including parts of the Charles River, Boston Harbor, and a portion of the Atlantic. Massachusetts holds a significant place in American history, particularly as the origin of the American Revolution. The initial battles of the war occurred at Lexington and Concord, symbolizing the emerging spirit of equality, freedom, and unity. The state's history extends back further, as it was the landing spot of the Pilgrims in 1620, and prior to that, it was home to Native American peoples for approximately 10,000 years. Massachusetts also stands out for its early commitment to education, establishing the first colleges and public school systems in the country. Moreover, Massachusetts was a hub for abolitionist movements, with the African Meeting House serving as a center for anti-slavery efforts. Massachusetts, nicknamed the Bay State, has a 1,500-mile coastline marked by numerous embayments. Cape Cod juts out into the Atlantic Ocean, creating Cape Cod Bay, while the islands of Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard lie off the southeastern coast. Inland, rolling plains are fed by streams, with over 1,100 ponds and lakes scattered throughout. Notable rivers include the Connecticut, Charles, and Merrimack. Central Massachusetts transitions to the fertile Connecticut River Valley and the Berkshire Hills. Mount Greylock, the state's highest point at 3,491 feet, is located in the Taconic Range. Massachusetts, a state in the New England region of the northeastern United States. It borders the Atlantic Ocean and the Gulf of Maine to its east, Connecticut and Rhode Island to its south, New Hampshire and Vermont to its north, and New York to its west. Massachusetts is the 7th smallest state by land area. With an estimated population of over 7.1 million, it is the most populous state in New England, with nearly half of all New Englanders residing in Massachusetts, the 16th most populous in the United States, and the 3rd most densely populated U.S. state after New Jersey and Rhode Island. Massachusetts was a site of early English colonization. The Plymouth colony was founded in 1620 by the Pilgrims of Mayflower. In 1630, the Massachusetts Bay Colony, taking its name from the indigenous Massachusetts people, also established settlements in Boston and Salem. In 1692, the town of Salem and surrounding areas experienced one of America's most infamous cases of mass hysteria, the Salem witch trials. The American Revolution originated in Massachusetts, with Boston becoming known as the cradle of liberty for its political agitation. In 1786, Shays' Rebellion, a populist revolt, influenced the United States Constitutional Convention. Originally dependent on agriculture, fishing, and trade, Massachusetts transformed into a manufacturing hub during the Industrial Revolution. Before the American Civil War, the state was a center for the abolitionist, temperance, and transcendentalist movements. During the 20th century, the state's economy shifted from manufacturing to services. In the 21st century, Massachusetts has become the global leader in biotechnology and also excels in artificial intelligence, engineering, higher education, finance, and maritime trade. Boston is Massachusetts' capital and most populous city, as well as its cultural and financial center. Other major cities are Worcester, Springfield, and Cambridge. The state also hosts the urban core of Greater Boston, the largest metropolitan area in New England, with profound influence on U.S. history, academia, and the research economy. Massachusetts has a reputation for social and political progressivism. It is the only U.S. state with the right to shelter law, and was the first U.S. state and one of the earliest jurisdictions in the world to legally recognize same-sex marriage. Harvard University in Cambridge is the oldest institution of higher learning in the United States, with the largest financial endowment of any university in the world. Both Harvard and MIT, also in Cambridge, are perennially ranked as either the most or among the most highly regarded academic institutions in the world. Massachusetts is the most educated U.S. state, ranking first by the percentage of population 25 and over with either a bachelor's degree or advanced degree. Its public school system ranks first in the country, with public school students placing among the top tier in the world in academic performance. Massachusetts is among the wealthiest and most developed states, and has been credited with the best performing economy. Massachusetts also ranks first in innovation among all U.S. states, first on the American Human Development and United Nations Human Development Indexes, first in per capita income, and first in median income, both by household and individually. Consequently, Massachusetts is typically ranked as the most expensive U.S. state to live in. Overall, Massachusetts often ranks as the U.S. state with the highest quality of life. Massachusetts is one of the most historically significant and culturally influential states in the United States. Located in the New England region of the northeastern part of the country, Massachusetts has played a central role in shaping American history, politics, education, science, literature, and economic development for centuries. Although relatively small in land area compared to many other states, its impact on the nation and the wider world has been enormous. Massachusetts is a place where the foundations of the United States were formed, where revolutionary ideas were born, and where innovation continues to influence modern society. The state is known for its blend of historical tradition and modern progress. Colonial buildings stand beside modern skyscrapers, historic streets lead to advanced research laboratories, and centuries-old institutions coexist with rapidly developing technology companies. This combination of old and new gives Massachusetts a distinctive identity unlike any other state in America. The state has continuously reinvented itself while preserving the legacy of its past. The capital city, Boston, is among the oldest and most important cities in the United States. Founded in 1630, Boston became a major center of trade, politics, and culture during the colonial period. Over time, it developed into one of the leading educational, financial, and technological cities in the world. Boston's historical importance is visible throughout the city, where sites connected to the American Revolution remain carefully preserved. At the same time, Boston is a modern urban center known for world-class hospitals, universities, research institutions, and cultural organizations. The story of Massachusetts begins long before European colonists arrived. Indigenous peoples inhabited the region for thousands of years before European settlement. Tribes such as the Wampanoag, Nipmuc, Massachusetts, and Pocumtuck peoples developed complex societies connected to the forests, rivers, and coastal areas of the region. These communities relied on fishing, hunting, agriculture, and trade networks that stretched across northeastern North America. Their spiritual beliefs and cultural traditions were deeply tied to the natural environment. The arrival of European settlers in the 17th century dramatically changed the region. In 1620, the Pilgrims arrived aboard the Mayflower and established Plymouth Colony near present-day Plymouth, Massachusetts. Seeking religious freedom and a new beginning, the settlers faced enormous hardships during their first winter. Disease, cold weather, and lack of food threatened the survival of the colony. Assistance from Native Americans, especially members of the Wampanoag people, helped the settlers survive. The event later remembered as the first Thanksgiving emerged from this early relationship, though modern historians recognize the far more complex and often tragic history between colonists and indigenous peoples. Soon after Plymouth Colony was founded, the Massachusetts Bay Colony emerged under Puritan leadership. The Puritans sought to create a religious society governed by strict moral and spiritual principles. Boston quickly became the center of the colony and developed into one of the most important cities in British North America. Trade, fishing, shipbuilding, and agriculture supported economic growth, while churches and schools shaped social life. Education became one of the defining features of Massachusetts society from an early period. In 1636, Harvard University was established, making it the oldest institution of higher education in the United States. The founding of Harvard reflected the Puritan belief that education and literacy were essential for religious and civic life. Over time, this emphasis on learning expanded beyond religion and became a broader cultural value that continues to shape Massachusetts today. During the 18th century, Massachusetts became increasingly important in colonial resistance to British rule. Many events leading to the American Revolution occurred in Boston and surrounding towns. The Boston Massacre of 1770 intensified anger toward British military presence, while the Boston Tea Party of 1773 became one of the most famous acts of political protest in American history. Colonists objected to British taxation policies and restrictions imposed without colonial representation in government. Massachusetts produced many influential revolutionary leaders. Figures such as Samuel Adams and John Adams played key roles in shaping revolutionary ideas and organizing resistance against British rule. The battles of Lexington and Concord in 1775 marked the beginning of the American Revolutionary War. These events established Massachusetts as a symbol of independence, patriotism, and democratic ideals. Historical landmarks connected to the Revolution continue to define the identity of the state. Visitors from around the world travel to sites associated with colonial resistance and the founding of the United States. The Freedom Trail in Boston links important locations such as churches, meeting houses, cemeteries, and government buildings tied to Revolutionary history. These sites preserve the memory of events that changed the course of world history. Massachusetts is bordered by several neighboring states that contribute to the broader identity of New England and the northeastern United States. To the north lies New Hampshire, known for mountains, forests, and outdoor recreation. To the west is New York, one of the most economically and culturally influential states in America. To the south, Massachusetts borders Connecticut and Rhode Island, states that share historical and cultural ties dating back to the colonial period. To the east, Massachusetts faces the Atlantic Ocean, which has shaped the state's economy, culture, and identity for centuries. The Atlantic coastline remains one of the defining geographical features of Massachusetts. Fishing and maritime trade were essential to the state's early economic development. Coastal communities developed strong connections to the sea that continue today. Areas such as Cape Cod, Nantucket, and Martha's Vineyard are famous for their scenic beauty, maritime traditions, and tourism industries. These coastal regions attract visitors from around the world who seek beaches, sailing, fishing, and historical charm. The 19th century brought dramatic economic transformation to Massachusetts. The Industrial Revolution turned the state into a major manufacturing center. Textile mills, factories, and industrial cities expanded rapidly along rivers that provided water power. Cities such as Lowell, Lawrence, and Springfield became symbols of industrial growth. Industrialization attracted immigrants from many parts of the world. Irish immigrants arrived in large numbers during the 19th century, especially after the Great Famine in Ireland. Italian, Portuguese, French Canadian, Eastern European, and later Asian and Latin American communities also settled in Massachusetts. These immigrant groups contributed labor, culture, religion, cuisine, and traditions that transformed the social fabric of the state. Immigrant communities often faced difficult working conditions and social discrimination, but they played a crucial role in building the economy and cultural life of Massachusetts. Labor movements emerged as factory workers organized for fair wages, safer workplaces, and shorter working hours. Massachusetts became an important center for labor activism and social reform. The decline of manufacturing during the 20th century forced Massachusetts to adapt economically once again. Many factories closed or relocated, creating economic challenges in industrial cities. However, the state successfully shifted toward a knowledge-based economy centered on education, healthcare, finance, biotechnology, and technology. This transformation was driven largely by universities and research institutions. Massachusetts Institute of Technology became one of the world's leading centers for engineering, computer science, and technological innovation. Research conducted in Massachusetts helped shape industries ranging from software development to biotechnology and artificial intelligence. Healthcare also emerged as a defining strength of the state. Boston became home to some of the most respected hospitals and medical research centers in the world. Massachusetts General Hospital and Brigham and Women's Hospital became internationally recognized for medical care and scientific research. Advances in genetics, cancer treatment, neuroscience, and pharmaceuticals strengthened Massachusetts' reputation as a global leader in medicine. Education remains one of the state's greatest sources of influence. In addition to Harvard and MIT, Massachusetts is home to many respected institutions including Boston University, Tufts University, Northeastern University, and University of Massachusetts. These institutions attract students and researchers from around the world, contributing to the intellectual and cultural energy of the state. The cultural life of Massachusetts is exceptionally rich. Writers, philosophers, artists, and musicians have long been inspired by the region's landscapes and intellectual traditions. During the 19th century, towns such as Concord became centers of literary and philosophical thought. Thinkers such as Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau developed the Transcendentalist movement, emphasizing individual freedom, spiritual reflection, and the importance of nature. Thoreau's writings about Walden Pond became foundational works in American literature and environmental philosophy. Emerson's essays encouraged independent thought and self-reliance. These intellectual traditions influenced later social reform movements related to civil rights, environmentalism, and democratic participation. Massachusetts also played an important role in abolitionism and the fight against slavery. Activists such as Frederick Douglass and William Lloyd Garrison were connected to reform movements in the state. Massachusetts later became active in women's rights campaigns, labor reforms, and civil rights activism. The arts continue to thrive throughout Massachusetts. Museums, theaters, orchestras, and galleries contribute to a vibrant cultural environment. The Museum of Fine Arts houses internationally significant collections, while the Boston Symphony Orchestra is recognized as one of the world's leading orchestras. Sports culture is another major element of life in Massachusetts. Residents are deeply loyal to teams such as the Boston Red Sox, Boston Celtics, and New England Patriots. Sporting events create strong community connections and regional identity. Historic venues such as Fenway Park are viewed as cultural landmarks as much as athletic facilities. Massachusetts experiences 4 distinct seasons that shape daily life and tourism. Winters can be snowy and cold, especially in western areas. Spring brings flowering trees and warmer weather. Summers attract visitors to beaches and islands along the coast. Autumn is especially famous for colorful foliage that transforms forests into landscapes of red, orange, and gold. The Berkshire Mountains in western Massachusetts provide opportunities for hiking, skiing, and artistic retreats. Small towns in the region host music festivals, theaters, and cultural events that attract visitors year-round. This region offers a quieter contrast to the urban intensity of Boston and eastern Massachusetts. Transportation has played a major role in the development of the state. Logan International Airport connects Massachusetts to major cities around the world. Boston's subway system, the MBTA, is among the oldest public transit systems in the United States. Railroads, highways, and ports continue to support economic activity and regional connections. Massachusetts is often considered one of the more politically progressive states in America. The state has frequently led national discussions on healthcare reform, education policy, environmental protection, and civil rights. In 2004, Massachusetts became the first state to legalize same-sex marriage, influencing broader national debates on equality and human rights. Environmental awareness has become increasingly important in recent decades. Climate change poses significant risks to coastal communities because of rising sea levels and stronger storms. Massachusetts has invested heavily in renewable energy projects, sustainability initiatives, and environmental research. Offshore wind energy and clean technology development are expected to play major roles in the state's future economy. Despite its prosperity, Massachusetts faces important social challenges. Housing costs in the Boston metropolitan area are among the highest in the country. Economic inequality affects both urban and rural communities. Transportation congestion, infrastructure maintenance, and affordable health care remain ongoing concerns. Policymakers continue working to address these issues through social programs, economic planning, and investment in public services. The diversity of Massachusetts society remains one of its greatest strengths. Immigrant communities continue shaping the cultural, economic, and social life of the state. Restaurants, festivals, languages, and traditions from around the world contribute to a vibrant multicultural atmosphere. This diversity reflects the state's long history as a destination for people seeking opportunity, education, and freedom. Religion in Massachusetts has evolved significantly over time. The early Puritan colonies were founded on strict religious principles, but modern Massachusetts is far more diverse and secular. Catholicism became highly influential because of Irish and Italian immigration, while Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, and other religious communities also contribute to the state's cultural landscape. The future of Massachusetts is likely to remain closely tied to education, technology, healthcare, and innovation. Research institutions and private companies continue working together to develop advances in biotechnology, robotics, renewable energy, and artificial intelligence. The state's highly educated workforce and strong academic infrastructure position it well for future economic changes. At the same time, Massachusetts faces the challenge of balancing growth with social equality and environmental sustainability. Rising housing costs threaten affordability for many families and young professionals. Coastal communities require protection from climate-related risks. Public transportation systems need modernization and expansion. Addressing these issues will shape the future development of the state. Tourism will continue to play an important role in the Massachusetts economy. Visitors are drawn to the state's historical landmarks, universities, museums, beaches, and cultural events. The Freedom Trail, colonial towns, and Revolutionary War sites preserve memories of the founding of the United States. Coastal destinations remain popular for recreation and relaxation. Massachusetts also continues to influence national politics and intellectual life. Public debates about democracy, healthcare, education, science, and civil rights often involve leaders, researchers, and institutions connected to the state. Universities in Massachusetts educate future political leaders, scientists, entrepreneurs, and artists who go on to shape global society. The state's literary and philosophical traditions remain influential as well. The writings of Emerson and Thoreau continue to inspire discussions about individuality, environmental ethics, and social responsibility. Massachusetts has long been a place where intellectual inquiry and public debate are encouraged and respected. The identity of Massachusetts is deeply connected to resilience and transformation. Throughout its history, the state has repeatedly adapted to changing economic, political, and social conditions. Colonial settlements evolved into industrial cities, which later transformed into centers of research and innovation. This ability to evolve while preserving historical identity remains one of the defining characteristics of Massachusetts. Communities throughout the state preserve strong local traditions and regional pride. Whether in fishing villages along the Atlantic coast, suburban neighborhoods near Boston, or rural towns in western Massachusetts, residents maintain connections to local history and culture. Public libraries, schools, museums, and community organizations help preserve these traditions while supporting future generations. Massachusetts cuisine reflects its coastal geography and immigrant heritage. Seafood dishes such as clam chowder, lobster rolls, oysters, and baked cod remain associated with New England culture. Italian, Portuguese, Irish, and Asian cuisines have also become essential parts of everyday life throughout the state. The state's connection to the ocean continues to shape economic and cultural life. Fishing, shipping, tourism, and maritime traditions remain important in many coastal communities. Lighthouses, harbors, and fishing ports provide reminders of the state's long relationship with the Atlantic Ocean. Massachusetts has also become a leader in scientific ethics and public health discussions. Researchers and policymakers in the state frequently contribute to debates about genetics, artificial intelligence, medical ethics, and environmental responsibility. This reflects the broader intellectual culture of Massachusetts, where scientific advancement is often linked to questions of social responsibility and public good. Sports continue to unite communities across generations. Victories by Boston teams often become defining regional moments celebrated by millions of residents. Rivalries with teams from New York City remain especially intense and culturally significant. The state's architecture reflects centuries of historical development. Colonial churches, Victorian homes, industrial buildings, and modern skyscrapers coexist across cities and towns. Preservation efforts ensure that important landmarks connected to the colonial period and the American Revolution remain protected for future generations. Massachusetts also remains an important destination for international students and immigrants. The global reputation of its universities and research institutions attracts talented individuals from many countries. These newcomers contribute new ideas, cultural traditions, and economic energy to the state. As the 21st century progresses, Massachusetts is expected to remain one of the leading centers of innovation and education in the world. Advances in medicine, artificial intelligence, renewable energy, and engineering are likely to continue emerging from the state's universities and research laboratories. Economic growth may increasingly depend on industries requiring creativity, technical expertise, and interdisciplinary collaboration. However, continued success will depend on addressing social and environmental challenges. Affordable housing, transportation infrastructure, educational equality, and climate resilience will require long-term planning and investment. Massachusetts has historically responded to major challenges with innovation and civic engagement, suggesting that it will continue adapting successfully in the future. In many ways, Massachusetts represents a microcosm of the American experience. It contains stories of immigration, revolution, industrialization, scientific achievement, cultural diversity, and democratic debate. The state has influenced the nation through politics, literature, philosophy, science, and social reform. Ideas that emerged in Massachusetts have often spread far beyond its borders, shaping broader national and global developments. The legacy of Massachusetts continues to inspire people around the world. From the arrival of the Pilgrims and the beginnings of colonial society to the rise of modern universities and technological innovation, the state has remained closely connected to the evolution of American identity itself. Historical landmarks preserve the memory of revolutionary struggles, while modern research institutions continue pushing the boundaries of human knowledge. Ultimately, Massachusetts is more than simply a geographic region in New England. It is a symbol of intellectual achievement, democratic ideals, resilience, and continuous transformation. Its universities educate future leaders, its scientists drive medical and technological breakthroughs, and its communities preserve traditions that connect the present to centuries of history. The story of Massachusetts is one of constant change combined with enduring values. Education, civic participation, innovation, and cultural diversity remain at the heart of the state's identity. Whether viewed through the lens of history, politics, science, literature, or social reform, Massachusetts stands as one of the most influential and respected states in the United States. Its importance extends far beyond its size because the ideas, discoveries, and movements that emerged there have shaped nations and inspired generations. From colonial settlements to global centers of research and innovation, Massachusetts has continuously demonstrated the power of knowledge, determination, and progress. The state remains a place where history is remembered, ideas are explored, and the future is actively shaped, ensuring that its influence will continue for generations to come. Thank you for watching this video.